Hi, folks. Welcome to the Moving Home Podcast. I'm Jay Norman, and this is my wife.
Hi, I'm Jessie Norman. Just like many of you, Jay and I have both walked through some difficult seasons in our lives.
And we know just how easy it is to get stuck.
We now have 5 beautiful
And crazy
children, and because of everything we've been through, our home operates on grace.
A concept we didn't fully understand until way later on in life.
Until we actually needed it ourselves. We want to share through stories of love and laughter,
How we were moving on and how big of a game changer grace can be.
in relationship with one another, and how we treat ourselves, and in our case, blending a family.
Something that may just require the largest amount of grace to date.
Preach.
You never know what road life's going to take you on. We have a podcast.
Yes, we do, and we really hope y'all enjoy it.
Hi, babe.
You waited this week. Last week, or with Cody, you did not wait on me. I was like running.
I just let you go through with all your glorious squeaking headphones and all that right there.
Oh my gosh. Hi, babe.
How are you?
I'm so happy because the sun is out.
The sun is out.
And we're finally getting to record several days late, but that's okay because grace abounds. And we're about to go have lunch together.
Yes, we are, and we're late because we got started and got dry enough. We got started planting corn on the farm, and that kind of took up our weekend. And
And my parents were here.
Parents were here. We had a lot of extra things going on, and so we did get started planting corn. We got to run really 2 short days, and then we ran Monday and Tuesday, and then now we got 1.5 inches of rain, so we're wet again on hold. But we were probably just a little early on the corn anyway, but we had to go try.
Right. Rationale seems to escape you when it's time to plant corn.
Just do what you got to do.
Yeah, but you don't seem like a normal weighing your options, good versus bad type of human. You just seem like one of those people that's trying to get into like a Black Friday sale at Walmart, and you're pushing people out of the way.
In Northeast Texas, when there's a window, you better be running if you're going to get it done.
Did you even know?
Did you mean that as a compliment?
Did you know that did you even know we were married last weekend?
Yeah.
Because there was one time where I was with you, I was right by you for like 8 hours, and I don't know if you knew I was with you.
Well, it was kind of a hectic time. So,
Yeah, I love it.
we were fertilizing wheat. We got it done right ahead of that.
Yeah.
And got all that and got the planters ready, and we worked on them for probably 1.5 months, and you think you're ready. And you feel like everything's ready to go, and then you get there, and we ran the first 2 days, and we had problems with some mud, but no mechanical problems.
Yeah.
That was on Friday and Saturday. We don't work on Sundays. And so we started.
And Sunday was perfect.
Sunday was perfect day, and we of course didn't run. That's a tradition in our family we've talked about on here before.
Yes.
So Monday morning, I get there really early and start, and from the get-go, I had problems, and we ran Monday and Tuesday with problems. Both of those days, and hopefully we've got that stuff figured out. We think we do to be ready when it gets back dry.
So that means it's time for things to go well.
I'm ready. That's the most problems I've had in the last few years on one, but that's the way it goes, and that's part of it. But sure ready to get it fixed and move on, get some more planted for sure.
That's going to be so nice.
But we got to have some sunshine before that happens. You know, we're small percentage done, and most here didn't start, and we were probably a little early. Ground's a little cold, and obviously a little bit wet.
Yeah, for sure.
But I did have that Black Friday mentality, and we did get some planted.
Did you get that from your dad and your uncle when you were growing up, or did you develop that when you went off on your own?
I think my dad definitely is geared that way, but just farming in this part of the world, and especially the years we've had, the last 3 years, if you miss a certain window, then a lot of times you don't get a second shot. So you better be going wide open when the time comes for sure.
That's kind of true this time too, because we have some sunshine today and maybe a little tomorrow, but then we have some more rain coming this weekend.
Yeah, and we sure don't need it.
No.
And so when all this is going on, another issue we deal with, and the ones from this area, and probably a lot of other areas too, but we deal with wild hogs, and we don't hunt them a lot ourselves. We've got some different guys that help us, but it is a huge issue here that when we plant that seed, the hogs will come right down the road and get it and tear up a whole field. And then that's a whole nother reason that you have to go back and redo it.
Yeah, our very first tractor date, I would say, we planted several hundred acres of corn, was it right? And I couldn't remember, but we went back probably the next day or the next day, and I was so new to all of this. But since I was with you, I felt such a sense of pride over that field, and we went back there and hogs had gotten the seed, but it looked like a piece of machinery. And so I remember asking Jay, what machine is that? Like, because you're staring at 200 acres of lines, just little lines where the little dirt is disrupted. And I was like, what machine did that? What is that, like something that comes in after the planter? And Jay laughed. He said, it's hogs. And I remember this wave of nausea just going over my body. Like everything that we had done had been undone. And it was just the precision was just incredible.
And babe, have we ever told the story of that first?
No, please don't.
Date? Oh, that's hilarious.
Are you gonna?
Yeah, let's tell it.
Okay.
So on that very first date.
Have we told it?
Well, I don't know if we've told it or not,
okay.
but and it wasn't really our first date. It was just her first planting season, really.
It was probably my first overnight on the tractor.
Yeah, and so we're running, and I've already been up about 4 or 5 days at this point, sleeping about 2 to 4 hours a night. And so we were rocking along there, and it's about 3 o'clock in the morning, and she decides she's tired, so she gets on the floor and stretches out. Well, that means I have to get my feet up out of the floor, so I prop them up. I'm leaned over on one elbow when I'm planting, and it's really long rows for us in this part of the country. It's nothing like compared to other parts, but long rows for us. And so sometime in this long row, I fall asleep. And so we get to the end, and we've gone over the end rows, and whatever, something bounces and wakes me up.
Like a football field away from where we're supposed to be.
Yeah, and I wake up, and I am within about 2 foot of a tree limb coming right straight in the cab. I glance left, and the planter's just fixing to hit a tree out on the left end. So I go to hit the clutch. Well, guess what? Jess is laying in the floor. So I stomped the tar out of her trying to get the clutch pushed in and the brake. Of course, I'm half asleep.
I'm sound asleep,
yeah,
too.
She's out, and I'm just stomping her. And then I realize that she's down there. So I just throw it in neutral.
Right.
And this all happens in 1 second, probably. And I get it stopped before anything. The limb did hit the cab.
Yeah.
But right in the windshield, but it was thin enough it didn't hurt anything.
Yeah.
But we really lucked out.
Oh my gosh. I wake up, I get in the seat beside him, and I remember this huge wanting to cry my eyes out or laugh my head off all at the same time, but didn't know which because I couldn't feel him out for if he was mad or if we could laugh at it yet. And the answer is we couldn't laugh at it yet. And so then that made me want to laugh even more.
Yeah, it was close to a catastrophe for sure.
I don't know if y'all have seen Austin Powers where they show he's about to get run over by the steamroller, and then they show the side view and the steamroller's like so far from him. That's what I kept imagining is that's how far we had gotten from the place we were supposed to be. And so I just keep imagining us driving back to where we were supposed to be, and we were asleep that whole time.
Yeah.
And that just got me so tickled.
I didn't find it fun at all.
I know he didn't. The tension in that cab was set, and we were new,
And so the funnier part of that is the next night we're back at it again, and it's about 2 o'clock in the morning, and she's asleep in the floor again. Well, I feel myself getting sleepy, so I stop and just go to sleep.
Right.
But I dreamed that the same thing happens, and so I stomp her
again
all over again in the floor, thinking I'm crashing into a tree, but I'm actually dreaming it. And when she woke up from that, she decided it was time to leave.
Well, and I woke up, and we were in park, but all the lights were on, so the whole field was lit up, and you had almost gone back to sleep before I woke up.
Yeah.
So I wake up, and we're parked, and he's asleep. I have no idea what has happened, but
she just got footprints all over. I'm not sure what's going on. But anyway, that's one of our crazy stories.
Yeah.
Along with that. So, babe, you and several friends have got something big going on Instagram. Tell us about that one.
Cam, you guys know our best friends Cam and Jackson live in Durango, Colorado, and she and I were like, why have we not done something together on Instagram? And so it was one of those where I was like, you design it and tag me. And she's like, you do it and tag me. So we drug our feet for a little bit. But either way, we came up with, we mirrored a friend's giveaway that she had done that we really loved. And we found 10 girls and that we just really love in agriculture on Instagram. And we kind of we've joined forces, and they're all from different states. And so each giveaway is kind of our favorite things from each of our states. And Cam, who is Farmer Dolls, she went yesterday, and then I've gone today. So today is my day.
And so what all did you have?
I had a tough time finding stuff, and then I realized it's because I was trying to be Texan, and kind of my heart is Cajun.
I wondered how you would take the route on that. Yeah.
So I did a little bit of a combo, broke the rules, broke my own rules. And
surprise, but go ahead.
And so I knew one of the most popular things I would think people would think of Texas is Chip and JoJo. So I got a mug, and it says "Get After It." It's so cute. I want it. And then I got this cute little shirt that says Team Jesus in some Western letters, and some Tony Chachere's and some Louisiana fish fry, and then a couple other little doodad jewelry things.
I see.
So I think I told Jay a minute ago, I got on there just to check it before we started recording, and this girl left on my post, left this comment that said, she tagged a few of her girlfriends, and she goes, "This one's got good stuff." And I just thought that was so cute that she called me this one.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. It really is.
So it's been a lot of fun, but it's a neat bonding experience for the 10 girls. Because, of course, we've been talking, and Sherry's up in Canada. She's freaking hilarious. And then all of the other girls, Sherry is GMO_M, I think. If y'all want to find her, she's awesome. But all of the girls, I would love for you all to go and follow all of them. They all have the neatest stories, and they all have the best personalities. And never has the giveaway been about numbers or followers or fame, anything like that. It's all just been, let's have a good time and meet some more girls in our community. So I think that's why it's been so fun. And one of the funnier things that we did is I did the art for our, for our stories and stuff. And so they all sent me their little fun headshot. But then someone got on the kick of sending like a crazy one, crazy hair or something. So then all 10 girls sent in crazy pictures. And so we made an art of it, a graphic of it, and it's just adorable. So
that's pretty neat.
Kind of against the grain.
It is.
So
different thought process too.
Yeah.
That's something I know nothing about.
I know, and I didn't either. I mean, I told Jay, Cam and I are the ones that kind of took this upon ourselves to do, and I fully didn't understand it until like yesterday.
Yeah.
So it's just, we're a little bit older. Jay was 50 this past December, and I'll be 40 in June. So we definitely are on kind of a little bit past knowing about all of this stuff, but it's been a lot. Sure. It's a lot of fun.
So one other thing you got going on that I want to mention is your speaking engagement in Kansas.
Yes. So in Sharon Springs, Kansas on May 30 and 31st, I wanted to invite all of you girls. My friend Whitney, who is Farm Wife Guru, if any of you know her, you'll understand this next sentence, but she had missed several women's conferences, and so thought, well, I'll just put my own one on. I'll just get everyone to come to me. And I love her. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So she invited me to come speak to the girls on grace, and I'm just thrilled. I'm so excited. And there's several other girlfriends of mine that I'm going to get to actually meet for the first in person. Yeah. So if any of you girls are close to eastern Colorado, because they're right on the line, and western Kansas, I really hope that you'll make a effort to get there. I think it is going to be just I know that's going to be an incredible weekend.
And for the boys, I am going to go if there's
Yes.
not dust flying on the combine on May 30th.
Yes. I teased that Jay was not invited, but he is for sure going. He loves that area, and you guys know that he and I don't do much apart. So,
looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Proud of you for doing it, and proud of you for getting invited.
Thanks, babe. And I wanted to tell the website, it's cultivating-courage.org, and you can register there. I think it's $115 for the 2-day event. And on Sunday, I'm actually getting the opportunity to close out the event. And then we're all going to go tour a dairy farm.
I think that's going to be neat.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. So kind of a theme or topic that we have been on the last few days with everything going on and all that is talking about being invited and then being accepted and being left out. And it's something that as a blended family and as being divorced is things that we've experienced a lot over time.
Yeah, I don't even know how we got onto this talking about it, but it seemed to pop up a bunch in the past 10 days, and that's when we kind of take a cue from God is maybe
He's plugging us.
Maybe he's wanting us to discuss this because I really do think no one is really immune from it. And I think it's something that we've all experienced in some form on some level in our lives, and we can all relate to it. And
from a blended family standpoint, we've experienced just because.
Yeah, there's a bunch of us.
as a couple, you experience it just because you're new or whatever, or you're divorced, and there's things that you in the past you would have got invited to. Yeah. That you didn't. And then as our family, being 7 of us, they don't always want all of us. Yeah.
Our whole 7 can fill your entire living room and cost you another $100 in groceries.
Yeah.
So we totally get that for sure. Several of our friends are near empty nesters.
Yeah.
And so it is hard for you to have a nice adult evening and then wonder, are the Normans going to bring...
Is the clan coming?
Is the clan coming? We're not good at leaving our children home because we love being with them. But yeah, so we went to church this past Sunday, and our pastor said something really neat, which was be famous to your family. And he was really kind of approaching... instead of trying to get everyone's love and adoration on Facebook or Instagram and spending all the time on your phone, taking all of that effort and pouring into your family. And it was something that really resonated with me so much. It just kept popping up. And so I knew that God was definitely speaking to me on that. So,
well, and I think along with that, you had a pretty good aha moment.
A huge aha moment. I'm the baby of my family. And I don't know about any of y'all, but I told you I was going to be 40 this year. In my head, I'm a good 22, 23. I have not caught up. I just haven't caught up, And so when he said, be famous to your family, I was like, I'm doing this. I'm down, And I go back and I'm like, texting my brothers and sisters and my mom and dad and pouring into those relationships and thinking about them and praying for them. And in some form or fashion, I feel like God was like, not them. And I think it was actually my sister that helped me because she and I like to talk about things that God's revealing to us. And I was telling her what he had said. And she wasn't correcting me. She just simply texted back something like, oh, yes, they're watching and they're little sponges and, they need you. And I wanted to be like, no, he meant you. Yeah. He meant y'all. He meant you and my brother and sister and my mom and dad. And it was just this gigantic aha moment that it's embarrassing. I, up until so recent, thought my family was... my family. Yeah. I thought they were my brothers and sisters and my nieces and nephews and cousins and my mom and dad. And I thought that was my family. And really, my family is you and our 5 children. Yeah. And so it's almost like I was trying to break back into what had always been when life has brought us further down the road, and my sisters, I'm the youngest. So since my sisters are older, my nieces and nephews have gotten married and moved to different states. And so our family has grown into a new culture. And I want us all just to be just like we were all these years. And it's just a hard transition, into this new season,
right,
where this is just the normal progression for life is, I'm the mom now, and I feel like I'm still the kid,
And I think too, for both of us in our past lives, there was probably times that our family, being our parents, our brothers and sisters, came first.
Yes.
And for me, I know it took getting divorced and marrying you and all the stuff that we went through that we've referenced on this podcast to realize that that's actually, who we need to be famous for is for each other and then for our kids.
Children. I know. And I think what's funny about that too is when you get divorced, then you very much regress into being back with your family.
Yeah, your parents step up to help you with the kids and take a huge role.
My parents stepped up like crazy, and for a little bit, it is that group. It is your brothers and sisters, or it's your parents and your children.
Kind of gather around you.
Yes, they really do step up to save the day. And so that might be what was kind of tricky for me to go forward into our family is I have them in tow. Sure. I have them in tow right in my back pocket.
You hate to just ditch them when you get that relationship and then you start then,
Well, and there's no ditching, but there's definitely a leave and cleave like he calls us to do. And you've seen families where when they don't cleave those relationships, marry your husband or wife, that you're supposed to leave and cleave from your parents. And you've seen unhealthy relationships that's just not happened. And that can cause a problem, as you and I have seen.
Yeah, very much.
Because if you ask me, I did move to Texas, but that is about the extent of it. I moved from Louisiana, southern Louisiana, to Texas with my first husband, and we created a life. But that is about the extent of it. If I'm telling you that I didn't really learn this till last week, y'all can imagine that I didn't correctly understand it my entire first marriage. So, and that's a problem, and that's something I'll definitely.
Well, and I think on the other side of that, it's too, it's that being famous when you're saying your immediate family, but then you also, I think a lot of times you get stuck in doing that even for other people that aren't family, and you get focused.
Oh yeah,
on the wrong thing for
Don't
sure. Whether it's work or whatever you're doing.
You're exactly right, babe, and that's where our pastor was shepherding us, is away from. You go to Chili's or the local restaurant and the mom and dad are on their phone and the kids like doing everything they can to get their attention. And that's just a small little example, but I think it represents something so much larger, which is we would pay for the adoration from 1,000 followers that we don't know versus the child sitting right next to us wanting us to put our phone down. And I think that's where our pastor was really trying to speak into our lives. And it definitely hit me where I needed to be hit.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that's something, as busy as life is, that's easy trap to fall into and to let that time go by. And for me, I look back at doing that stuff, whether it's with my family or my kids, it is just a time loss that you don't get back doing that, especially if you are a divorced parent, if you're a blended family, when you don't have them half that time, that's a huge source of guilt if you look back and, hey, I did that. And you and I have had that discussion many times on that.
With what?
Well, just the time if we spent on our phone or if we were busy and we weren't sitting right there looking at the kids. Sure. I mean, that's a huge source of guilt.
There's been times where maybe we had the kids on Thursday. Thursdays are our jam. We always have our children on Thursdays. Well, if anything becomes a distraction on that Thursday, we lose that time that week, And so
we've got that today, for sure. We're fixing to face that here this afternoon, one short day that we got to focus on.
Well, and it is, and we have definitely learned to make it a huge priority in our family. And I think that's something that a lot of blended families can understand.
They definitely can.
But sometimes just reaching out for help, because a phone can become an addiction just like alcohol or drugs or anything, and you don't even really realize you've slipped into these habits. So, so be famous to your family. I thought that was so beautiful. In our family, that means getting in the front yard and throwing the football, or going outside and watching them shoot basketball. Our kids would pay money for us to stand and watch them shoot baskets.
Yeah.
And so our kids are pretty low maintenance in their desires for...
And another way that I look at that too is, what you're referencing right there, that's famous immediately. That's right then.
Yeah.
That's a satisfaction to the kid. And then I look at it too, is like how you lead for me, how I lead my family, and being famous later on when they're old enough to look back and say, hey, he did that right, or you did, that we did things right. They can look back and, we're famous to them later on that we did that right when they were young. And I think that's what you got to strive for too.
I like that a lot.
And that's the hard part, and that's the hard work right there for sure.
Yeah, but really important.
Very important.
And just to not get so panicky that grace is covering all of it. So, but I really like that.
Yeah, and it's something that I've never thought of it in the context of being famous. And,
me neither.
And not that I'm looking for, in saying that, not looking for any glory or whatever out of it. It's more that they're the right people, that they, they're raising their kids that way, however long that is from now.
Well, sure. I don't think he means be famous.
Right.
Yeah. But come through for them is what I think he means, is you've got to really step up and be who they need you to be. And we're seeing lately how important that is.
It is, for sure.
Something that our pastor also says that has been so comforting to me this week is he just always says, draw a circle around yourself. And I think in blending our family, or in a marriage where you don't parent the way your husband does, or maybe you're remarried, that drawing a circle around yourself, that has come to save our day so many times in the past 10 days. Because I think it is such human nature to be able to judge and look at someone else and see exactly what they're doing wrong, but it's really hard for us to see what we are doing wrong.
No.
And so I think when we draw that circle, it cuts out that unnecessary prying into each other's lives and trying to control what the other one is doing. And you and I are walking through a season where I need to kind of stay in my lane, and that's not easy for me.
No.
And so I'm looking forward to it. Like, I'm looking forward to learning how to stay in my lane. And I'm excited about the things that it's funny when you can look at the trials in your life as opportunities for growth. And we are definitely stepping into a season of that.
Yeah.
And so I'm thankful for the people that are speaking truth into our lives. And so that's why we're kind of wanting to pass these things on to you guys. Well,
and too, that leads me to, you always say that quote, and I'm not sure where it came from either, about valuing your opinion. That's spot on right there. Yeah.
That's Pastor John, and he says, when you value your own opinion over others, you lose influence. And you can tell when you're talking to someone, do they love you or do they love what they're trying to convince you? And that's usually when you stop listening.
Yeah.
And
I think that's an easy trap to fall into in today's world, for sure.
We talked about that with Cody last episode, where Cody Aaron was on our podcast last episode, and we talked about there's not much you can say to someone to kind of convince them of otherwise. So you got to get pretty creative with just love and prayer and some approaching it from different directions.
Yeah, and that part of that and being able to be successful at that, I mean, that has to be faith-based, to get that right. I mean, that's really something that you have to spend a lot of time and thought about when you're working on a hard problem with somebody, or like us stepping into a new season for sure.
You definitely have to have street cred. There's not going to be many people that you're fully going to listen to. It has to be somebody that has poured into your life, and somebody that you love and trust, and somebody that's not harmed you, know. And so I've been noticing those people in my life lately. And I think once you can find them, find those whole individuals, those people that walked through the fire and become refined and come out on the other side, and the people that aren't going to encourage you to seek revenge, or the people that aren't going to gossip with you, or just pay attention to the ones that are speaking truth into your life and who are directing you towards love. And I think you can be good to keep those in your pocket as who to go to for that wise counsel. That's really, really important.
It is, and it's a funny way of saying it, but it's like when a new pickup comes out and you don't notice it, but then when you get one, you notice it everywhere. And that's kind of the way I see that, and those type of people is now those people stand out to me.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know why, if I'm looking harder or if I see it better. I can't really reason it out, but I do know that when I find that person, I immediately know that's that type of person.
I think with you, your blinders have fallen off. And so I think for so many years you were farm and nothing else. And I think you kind of have I think he's given you a new set of eyes to walk around this earth with. And I know that I have new eyes too. Right. And I'm thankful that you have them, because you're always, you're who wanted Cody on our episode a couple of weeks ago. And I kept telling Jay, I'm so thankful to have a husband that can hear God, because that's such a big deal. I mean, it's such a big deal. And so I'm just really, really thankful, and I can breathe easier now that I know that you can hear him, because I feel safer under your lead for our family, and I don't know, those blinders, those distractions, can keep us from really seeing what we need to see. So a lot of times when we're trying to pray for a friend, or I'm trying to pray for you, or I'm desperate for myself, I always ask God, just let the blinders fall away. So I think as humans, we get really easily distracted.
I think that's a very accurate and good description of it, is losing those blinders for me personally. And I think, if a person can allow themselves to let down their guard or lose those blinders, it opens up a lot of things. And I know for us, it's opened up a huge amount. And it reminds me too of you talking about when we were talking about being invited and accepted and all that, when you always say, talking about having a seat at the table, that quote that you have.
I was trying to think, I always quote Bob Goff, or our pastor, and I was trying to think who said it, but I really do think it was just a neat meme on Facebook or Instagram, and it just said, instead of begging for a seat at someone else's table, it's time for you to build your own. And I just think that's really helpful in looking at it. And I feel ready to build our own table. Maybe it was our kids were little, and I wasn't feeling like we were, I didn't feel like we were our own family yet. I saw my sisters have their older children, and I just thought, how neat is that?
I think it ties right back into being famous for your family, where you were, doing it for your family, for your parents, and now, we're doing it more for ourselves and for our kids.
It all goes together. And I cannot be the only one on earth that missed the boat, And
I don't think so.
You don't think?
No, not at all.
Dear goodness, I hope not. But if you're kind of in this season, and, I went to a counselor for a long time I loved, and she would call it an identity crisis. And she said, and the neat thing that she said was, it's not your first one, and it's not going to be your last one. And she made me feel so normal.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, okay, well, this is happening, and we're going to have more. And it is, as we go through these different seasons of our life, where we all went from being the child to being the parent.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go to being the grandparent. That's a whole different. And so as these stages of life are happening, our identities are constantly changing. Somehow I got lost in it and forgot to step into my next season. Luckily, I kept my children alive and fed and clothed, But other than that, I'm so ready to catch up, and God will restore the time that I feel like I lost. And I'm sure you always say I'm so hard on myself.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was a lot less awful than I am thinking, but I am excited to have those blinders fall off and finally be famous for my little family.
Right.
So,
well, and I think too that you work on making your own table in that seat, whether it's friends. You always say, show me your community and I'll show you your people.
your
future. Yeah. And I think that, that's kind of the same thing. You build that table of people that support what you're doing versus before you were just scrambling, trying to get somewhere. And I mean,
trying to find a seat.
I can look back and just us, in the last few years and really see that change a lot.
Yeah. If we would have known what we know now, things would have been a lot different.
Sure.
And my friend Summer, she always says, if you weren't there, then you couldn't be here.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love putting a positive spin on it. I don't think we should spend any time fussing at ourselves for not learning things quicker, because I think we learn it at our own times. But like I told you, my mom, she is such a young soul. My mom and dad both turned 70 this year. And you would think my mom was 50, easy.
Yeah.
And not a wrinkle on her face, acts so young. She's going to be the one out there playing ball. Both of them, my mom and dad, are going to be out there playing ball with my kids. And they're just such young souls. And that's what I was raised seeing. And I was telling Jay the other day, we went on a little road trip to Oklahoma with some of my girlfriends. And we were in this little store, gift store. And this college basketball team walked in from a little Oklahoma college. And I told Jay, I was like, oh my goodness, we're all together now. I just felt like, their 13th player. I thought they were going to see me and recognize me, because we recognize our own kind. And I just thought they were going to be, I'm excited to see them. I bet they're excited to see me. They're going to wonder where I played. And one of them, or a few of them, came up to me and was, excuse me, ma'am. And I was shattered. And it made me, of course, I knew to laugh. But it is just so funny how quickly life goes. And if you're not, I just wasn't ready I just got left. I got left feeling really young, which I think can be a positive.
Sure.
But I'm just still kind of trying to play catch up, figure these things out.
Well, it all comes together at some point to turn into what you want it to. It's just...
You said that you're like that with some of the guys.
I am. Those guys that work for me are a lot younger, and I don't think I'm a day older. And then the way they answer me, or let me get that for you, I'm like, he thinks I'm old as hell.
We have a little cousin. That's 21 or 22, and it never fails. Every time I'm with him, he says something about my age, and it makes me feel so stinking old. And I'm like, I wonder if I know that we did that.
Sure.
I think we did that on accident, where we would say like an older couple and they were like 30.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny how life is, but...
All gets back at you for sure.
Yes, it really does. It really does. It does quickly.
It really does. So when we're talking about trying to find a seat versus making your own seat.
Yeah.
Along that same line, something that you were talking about and we discussed was, and I don't remember again if it was Pastor John or what, but talking about how when you get to heaven.
Yeah, it's funny because Jay will say, like you always say, he'll quote me or something to me, and I'll be like, no, that's Bob Goff. No, that's Sean McKenzie. No, that's Bob Goff.
Well, it's just we talk about it, and I get lost in conversation who's what.
And I need to do a better job crediting people. My girlfriend is writing a book right now, and she quoted me in the book, and I was just over the moon excited until she sent me the page, and it was a Bob Goff quote.
Your relation only lasted so long, huh?
Yep. So anyways, you are talking Bob Goff. Yep. And oh goodness, he to me, he has just found a view on life that I really would love to find. And so I'm so happy to be following desperately in his footsteps and learning from him. But everything he says, I feel like is in my head or in my heart, but I've not found a way to voice it. I relate to him so much, and also our pastor. So I'm just really glad to be with both of them. But he was saying that we are very mistaken if we feel like we're going to get to heaven and have this fancy head table because of how awesome we were in our life. And on the same parallel, think that we're going to have some janky table in the back because we messed up our whole life. And that, grace draws a circle around all of us and says that we're in. And even though I know that, I read it and it was just explosive. Yeah. I just was like, why don't we know that? We don't know it because it's so opposite of human nature.
And even mentally, when you do read that and you do know it's true, it's still hard to fathom that you're going to be in the same place as somebody who's lived a, so to speak, more perfect life.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's so important to just stay drenched in his word and in his teaching. And when you do find those individuals that want to speak life into you, whether it be your pastor or speakers, things like that, just staying in their podcasts or in their books, or because we do almost need daily reminders, sometimes hourly reminders of what we know to be true, but it seems like we just forget it,
Well, and I think as divorced people and blended family, you group yourself in a certain area. And I think that you have to be able to realize and put thought in that God considers you the same as those people. And don't put yourself in a spot that you think you're not as good because it's all a level playing field.
I know.
And that's something that's been hard for me to realize.
Is it?
But, I mean, it truly is a level playing field, and I think you just have to be open-minded enough and forgiving enough of yourself and other people, for that matter, to know that it's all an open playing field, even playing field.
Yeah, I think that's why they say never meet your heroes, because they always say you're going to be disappointed because this person that you think is, best thing on the planet is now nerdy or quirky or says something odd, or and they say never meet them, or they're rude, or anything. And to me, the reason I don't think you should, because this person that you've idolized and put on this pedestal, you're already just as amazing as that person, but you don't know it. So you kind of think you're here and they're there, and that's just not the truth. So if you can look at it as we are all the same and his children, and there's no ranking system, but in this world we do use a ranking system. Sure. But yes, I pray that, oh goodness, that we all could step into throwing that off and knowing our worth as daughters and sons of Christ, that we can just step into exactly who we are to be without waiting until we have 10,000 followers, or waiting until we become head of the farm crew, or, instead of waiting, but just plugging in right now and knowing that we're all even, and it's time.
Yeah.
It's time to do what we always wanted to do. I think we're all kind of waiting for this certain thing to happen before we become who we're going to become. And the time to become, what is that Chinese proverb? The best time to do something was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The second best time to do something is today. And is that how it goes? Did I butcher it?
I think you hit it pretty close.
Okay. And so if you just can find a way to decide what is it that you're waiting for to become this.
Yeah.
And then just take out that first part. Don't wait for it. Become exactly what you've planned on becoming. Just do that now.
Yeah. Make your spot at the table.
Yeah. I like that, babe.
Table, yeah. Babe, also, you had a quote that we hadn't read.
Mm-hmm. We found it. One of my best friends in Indiana sent it to me and said, "This reminds me of you and Jay's grace." And I was just like, "Whoa, that's a nice sentence." But anyways, the quote is from Lisa Oliveira. And she says, "When we liberate ourselves from the false story of needing to be perfect, to be good enough, we naturally allow our others to be imperfect and still be good too." So when we naturally can find grace for ourselves, it flows into our view of others also.
Well, and I think that's what allows us to do this podcast.
Yeah.
And sit here and talk about it because, I mean, there's been times that we have felt like hypocrites. We've talked about that on here before and on most of these topics for sure. And I think that quote's what allows us to be on here and at least, try to do our part.
Yeah, for sure. Whether or not anyone feels we're in a educated enough state to be on here.
I can assure you
good grief,
that I'm not, but go ahead.
Or I know, there's been mention of we haven't been married long enough, or we don't have the right credentials, or whatever you want to think or say. We agree. We absolutely agree with you. But what we also need to say is that God has us here. We came here kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
And we know that God has us here to kind of turn and teach and pour back into others what we desperately needed pouring into us. And anyways, if you're listening, we love you guys. We love you guys so much, and we appreciate you so much. And we thank you for trusting us with your heads and your hearts. And we promise that we don't do any of this for self, glory?
I like it.
That's not a term, but I'm going to make it up. And, but we desperately want to pass on to you what he's wanting to pass along. And so that's why we're here. So
any little thing we learn or any little mess up we have that turns out to be a positive that might help somebody, that's definitely what this is about for sure.
Yep, we care so much about you guys. I wish y'all knew.
Yep, I wish they did. Well, baby, as the song says, the road goes on forever, the party never ends.
I love y'all, and I love you.
I love you too.
Bye, babe.
We sure appreciate y'all listening today. If you'd like to follow us on social media, you can search for us, Moving On Podcast. That's 3 words, on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We would love to hear from you. With ways you're figuring out how to drop the ropes in each of your own lives, and even ways that you're not, hell, that's just as entertaining to us. See you in a couple of weeks.